Hello, I am the Jordan, your coach of the Virginia Vikavolt, and I am starting a brand new VGC draft league. I am super pumped. I need the pump-up music. Give me Elevate. Hey. So I like all the music I put in my videos, but because of balancing, I need to put them in after I record, which is kind of sad. But this is pump-up music, and I'm pretty pumped up for the SPS Talonflame League. This is the top division, 16 out of 16 great coaches. This is the toughest draft league I've ever been a part of and maybe ever seen anywhere, with the exception of the WBE league that had the YouTubers and the world champions in it. That was the reason I got into this. But I'm going to be doing power rankings today, and every single team is pretty good or better. And I may have said that in past power rankings when it was a lot of good teams and a few teams that are clearly less experienced. This time, 16 out of 16, good drafts. And it's not about player skill, but about the drafts. Going to think about it at a high level, because if I'm just talking about, Galarian Moltres being a good Pokemon or Regirock having a high defense stat, we're going to be here all day. There's tons of good stuff on all the teams, but I want to think high level, how these teams come together, build offensive win conditions, how do they defend and make defensive win conditions, how do they control speed throughout the game, how well balanced are they, and X Factor is really how you tie it all together. Can I see this team winning with a specific plan? Can I see it all come together? I'm not going to see everything. If you're ranked low in the power rankings, there's plenty of opportunity to overperform and to show me stuff that I have not highlighted here. But I'm ready to get into it. I hope you're ready to get into it. If not, pause it. Now we're going to get into it. The 16th ranked team, I think, is better than several teams from last season, but not better than the other teams in this league, and that's why I have to put them in the 16th spot. This is Thank You, Mr. Zong, coached by Ninjosh. This is a good team. The first 4 picks are a really good start. Dracovish is the definition of a one-dimensional Pokemon because its one move is so much stronger than all the rest. I mean, I guess it can run, power meteor beam sometimes, but really you're just firing off these water moves. And Whimsicott is really good at making sure Dracovish goes first to get maximum power water moves. Gigalith, setting sand, also speeds up Dracovish and helps him that way. So that's a good start. Whimsicott, an amazing speed controller and overall support Pokemon. Arcanine, a really good support, versatile kind of attacker. And with Whimsicott, you do have that beat-up justified combination that can occasionally make Arcanine an offensive win condition. Togepi being a cheap redirector, only a dozen redirectors in the whole game, so good to get one and get one cheap. But that's where the draft fails to develop after that. I think Ninjosh was auto-picking. He was away from the draft for some of this, and you get a fair amount of redundancy. You get Mons that are beaten the same way. We have Registeel, a highly annoying but unfortunately very effective endgame tank and wall. Gigalith kind of fills the same role. I mean, it can attack, it's pretty strong, but it really likes to sit there with leftovers and curse and be, kind of a physical tank. And Mudsdale, another physical tank with stamina, trying to get defense boosts and just outlast the opponents. All of these guys are beaten with burns, with your own defense boosts, physical defense boosts, because they're all physical, with a water type. Water type beats Mudsdale, beats Gigalith, does fine against Registeel. Walls Dracovish, beats Arcanine. Every team's got a good water type, so I'm pretty concerned that this team will not be able to provide enough surprises, because regardless of which they pick, the opponents are going to have an answer for. Speed control is okay. It's hard to say it's just okay, because Whimsicott's an excellent fast mode, and Cofagrigus is a pretty good Trick Room setter. But that's where the team, it just doesn't have a lot of options after that. There's no Electroweb, no Icy Wind. Bulldoze is not really a speed control move when most of your Mons are weak to ground. I don't see any flying Pokemon. I guess Registeel, because of Clear Body, ignores the speed drop, so it's effectively speed control. But just not a lot of speed control besides these options, and so you really can just plan to beat both of them. So it's the overlap among these physical attackers, and also the supports. I think Whimsicott is really great, and Cofagrigus is pretty good. Very good, I'll even say. But when can you really justify bringing Excelgor or Grookey when you have a Whimsicott? This guy's prankster grassy terrain. So Grookey's, it's cool. It's a cool choice. It's just not, it's hard to justify it hitting the field. Herdier is a good defensive support option, and it was cheap, but I think Arcanine's better at most of the things it does. So it's tough. I think Ninjash is a very good coach, and so they will be able to build around this some way. But this team is not helping you. This team is not helping you get W's against other teams, because I think it needs a little bit more special attackers, a little bit more separate win conditions. But then, after a couple of moves, we'll see how this team does. Mick. I ranked Mick number 1 in the previous season of SPS Power Rankings because I thought he had a beautiful Rain team with a ton of classic top-tier mons and then a couple of cheap, versatile support options. And I think that's generally a recipe for success in Draft League. But maybe Mick had a different approach this time around. He did not enjoy me ranking him first. He thought it put a lot of pressure and made him destined to not do as well. But this time, the opposite expectations are on you. I'm expecting you to lose more games than you win, despite being an excellent player as well, because of this team. And so now you get to overperform these expectations. This is a team that is less top-heavy and bottom-heavy. There's a lot of middling, pretty good options, and a couple of really fierce offensive powerhouses. Tyranitar, Dracozolt, Togetic when it decides to go offensive. Chandelure has a very high attack stat, despite it being frail. Machamp with Guts can be very strong. These are strong physical offenders, and they're all protected by Togekiss, a pretty good redirector that doesn't share the same weaknesses as Machamp, Dracozolt, Tyranitar. I don't think any of them. Maybe Steel, so this is a Steel shared weakness, but not the end of the world. You're going to be stuck saying, do I attack the main attacker, or do I assume that it's going to be redirected to Togekiss and hit something for that? But this is where the team starts to struggle, is after this initial scary offense, is how does he be consistent with this plan? You look at these top 4 attackers, I guess the top 3 in Togekiss, and they have a ton of shared weaknesses, a ton. And that's to be expected sometimes when you grab these mons like Tyranitar, is really powerful and has a lot of weaknesses, and sometimes it's strong enough to survive a super effective hit. But bringing ground moves covers you against half of this team. Bringing fairy moves covers you against nearly half of this team. And so it's pretty easy to devise a game plan that just hits everything, regardless. I imagine you can Earthquake through this team a lot of the time, despite Togekiss redirection. And so that's what I struggle with, is how does this team play defensive if not for just Togekiss trying to soak up all the hits? Togekiss has 5 weaknesses of its own, and that's a lot of weight to put on it. There's a couple of great speed control options. Dracozolt gets double speed in sand. There are 2 Trick Room setters, who besides Slowbro and Chandelure. Slowbro is pretty reliable. This is one of the more defensive mons that can set Trick Room, immune to taunt, and then dish out offense once they've reversed the speeds. But a lot of these are pretty good mons that don't really synergize with each other, at least not in ways that are apparent to me. And that's tough. That's tough because the opposing offense is going to hit you really hard, and there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to hit the other teams hard if they're more balanced. And some of these mons will threaten to do much before they go down. Chandelure, Liepard, Berserker is pretty frail on the special side. And Berserker's main shtick is powering up steel moves, but I don't think a lot of these guys have strong steel moves. I mean, maybe they have coverage, but none of them are steel types. So not doing a lot with Berserker there. Lurantis is the only Intimidate deterrent. I'm excited about this offense, but it's going to be really weak to just those automatic attack drops of Intimidate. Lurantis actually reverses that with its contrary abilities. That's good. Machamp is the only one that's providing protection from burns here, because it likes getting burned with its Guts ability. But the others, Dracozolt, Tyranitar, Berserker, Lurantis, usually going to struggle with a burn. So this is a team with a lot of offense, a couple of speed control options. Setting Trick Room, Sand Rush, and having slow mons is pretty. Those are the speed control options, but I would like more Icy Wind. I would like a Tailwind. I don't think this guy has Tailwind. Yeah. And these two Trick Room setters are both weak to Ghost and Dark, so that's a little bit concerning. It's all the shared weaknesses. This is an inherently volatile team, and if Mick pilots it well, they will definitely overperform their power ranking spot. But we're just going to have to see it happen. Best of luck. Number 14, this is the Black City Mambas, coached by Link Pichu. He's going by Lichu these days. And this is a team that is different than the first two teams, which are more about offense, but I think we're struggling to do so in a varied enough way. This team is very versatile. It started with this core of Incin and P2, defensively oriented Mons, very hard to take down. Serena and Gastrodon. Gastrodon only has one weakness. Serena is a support-oriented attacker. It does attack, but it likes to disrupt priority moves and kind of chunk down the opponent with different options. So none of these guys are taking KOs on turn 1. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can run more defensive win cons where you kind of chip through them before they chip through you. But this team overall struggles in the offensive department. I do not see how the team comes together to perform like convincing offensive win conditions. I mean, occasionally you can just stockpile up Gastrodon and make it unkillable, and that's one way to win a game. But none of these guys are outputting a lot of damage. They don't have great ways of boosting themselves really quickly. Like, I like things like Coaching, Decorate. I actually had an idea, a draft plan I was batting around for this, where I used Porygon 2 and Alchemy. Alchemy has the best partner boosting move in the whole game, Decorate. So you just get Porygon up to quadruple attack, and then Porygon's already very durable, so it just can clear the team. But there's nothing like that on this team. Sylveon has Calm Minds. It's another good Pokemon, another quality Pokemon on this team, but it is slow at getting the power it needs. Maybe if you put a choice specs on it. Dragalge and Marowak are stronger than these first 5. I think the stats, or their abilities plus stats, will confirm that, but they need Trick Room to operate. I like this priority Tailwind setter in Fletchinder, making things faster, but you make Serena faster than the opponent, it's still not necessarily going to take KOs. I don't think you want to necessarily bring these two slower Mons with Tailwind, because you'd still need to invest in speed to get them to outspeed things, and then you're missing out on bulk. So this is a team that's got a great Trick Room mode, but that Trick Room takes a while to set up, and time is not on your side while you're in Trick Room. You really need to make the most of it. Maybe he can Swords Dance up with Marowak or something. But the only real hyper-aggressive option on this whole team, I think, is Durant. Durant has a 50% offense increase through the Hustle ability, but Hustle also makes it 20% less accurate. And that is not consistent. That is the definition of inconsistent, and this league does not have Dynamax, so there's no option to negate this accuracy drop. Durant is going to struggle to take more than 1 or 2 KOs. It's also really frail on the special side. I've seen it get KO'd by a neutrally effective, just like Hydro Pump and things like that. It's kind of a shame. I don't think it's a good mon for this team or for the format. But how do these good options turn into a good overall game plan? You just look at these attack stats, and the highest attack stat is Serena and Incineroar, both known as secondary attackers, and then the highest special attack is Porygon 2. Porygon 2 is the wall of the game. It's really great at that, but it's not sweeping that often, and Sylveon's a good helper, but it's not the main option a lot of the time. The second biggest attack stat is Graplocked, which I do not believe is a real Pokemon. I'll believe it when I see it actually do something. So defense. Type Synergy is also really good. Not a lot of weaknesses that hit them that hard. It helps when you have these broken typings, like Gastrodon only weak to one thing. But no more than 3 weaknesses to anything. Not terrible. The ice weakness is a problem. Only resist being Incineroar. But overall, I think that is one of the strengths of this team. It's just, how does the team come together? And so maybe there's some things that I haven't thought about. Maybe Graplocked has Coaching. Maybe you get to use that. I mean, this team has 2 fake out options. It's got a reliable Trick Room setter. It's got a lot of good stuff. But the X factor, that's what I'm struggling to find here. And I hope Lichu shows me. And I hope I learned something new from this team. We're in spot number 13. We are with Lemuro and the Menses to Society. Lemuro got his Salamence right in the grace period. Had to make a transaction to fit it in, and I'm happy he did. This is a very interesting team, and I think it is the boldest team we've seen so far in terms of this team is blatantly not balanced, or it doesn't have a ton of different ways to win. It has triple Intimidate, 3 different mons that cut the opponent's attack. It has triple Fake Out, Torcat, Thwacky, and Mineshaw has Fake Out. So lots of ways to disrupt the opponent, get a turn or two of advantage. That's pretty bold, and these are things that are known to be really good in this format of non-Dynamax. But that's where the team struggles to get beyond that. You know, if God forbid you have an opponent that benefits from Intimidate, you know, with the Defiant or competitive abilities, or an opponent that is immune to Fake Out, you know, Inner Focus, then they beat half the team straight away. Inner Focus Mon beats all 3 Intimidateds and all 3 Fake Outs. And the other main concern I have is this team is so physical. I'm really impressed with the average 101 physical attack stat, but who are the special attackers? Like, Salamence is the best special attacker. It's pretty good, but it's still better on the physical side. And Metagross, one of the best known physical attackers around, is your second highest special attacker. I guess, well, the third to Regice. Regice is good, but it usually needs like a weakness policy or some kind of boost to get it going. 100 is not that great. So if a team can really beat physical attackers, you know, like Mixed Team's got these physical walls. How does he get through it? I just don't see it, and I see a lot of cool stuff on this team, like not only the Intimidate and Fake Out, but Trio providing bulldozes that these flyers are immune to. 3 flying Pokemon, and so you can provide speed control that way. Fletchling is this really discount priority Tailwind setter. Do we have a Trick Room? This team is not really planning to fight in Trick Room because it is, you know, nothing slower than 50. But Mimikyu is a good Trick Room setter. Maybe it's going to reverse Trick Room, or maybe it's going to set up Regice once or twice. But this team's not really set to fight in Trick Room. I think I can give this maybe 2.5 on speed control. But you get to see me edit live. Come on. Google. Okay, so it's just the same game plan to beat. You know, Salamence and Gyarados are pretty redundant. You see the same abilities, some of the same weaknesses. They're not next to each other, but you see they're both weak to rocks, and 5 of the Pokemon are weak to rocks. Some of the most important Pokemon, not Fletchender, but the other 4. You're just going to get pelted with rocks. I think fire moves and rock moves, you've hit 8 of the Pokemon super effectively. And so this team does need to be rounded out. There's pretty clear ways to improve this team despite all of the wonderful things it has going for it. If it makes those transactions, I think it gets to be a really good team. And Lemuro is known as one of the better draft league players, period. So he's going to be able to make something happen with this team. I like these lower tier, or these mid tier Fake Out, disruption support mons. A lot of good Pokemon here. I like Mineshaw is known to be really good in this format. Wide Guard and all the other support moves it gets. Triple Will-O-Wisp is really compelling. But how do we turn this team into something that can win against a physical wall, something that wins when Fake Out and Intimidate are not as effective? Let's see how it happens. I think this team has a lot of X Factor, because once it gets those things together, then it'll be a scary team for sure. Let's go to number 12, Cheesy. Hi, Cheesy. Cheesy has a better team than he had last season. I'm pretty happy about this team, but it's a lower ranking than I gave him last season, and I think that speaks to how strong the competition has got. So nothing to feel bad about, but I'll get into what I think are the strong points and weak points. In DDF, the best redirector in the game, or at least top 2, it sets the Psychic Terrain, and he's got 2 good Psy spammers. Reuniclus on the slow end with Trick Room, Espeon on the fast end. These are good Pokemon. These are Pokemon that produce a ton of offense. It's all the same dimension offense. All 3 of them are going to be spamming Psychic moves. And Normally when you do the Psy Spam core, you want to get like a Psychic Fairing type or something that like negates their dark weakness. All 3 are weak to dark. Grimmsnarl's good. It's double resist dark moves, but it has this anti-synergy with Indeedee where it loves to use priority moves, but Indeedee sets psychic terrain, so it can't use its priority moves. So you're gonna have to use Grimmsnarl as like an attacker to protect these guys. Maybe use just like a dark resist berry or something. But you're not going to be able to go all out Psy Spam because it's one Mon can counter them all, and probably do other things to fight Entei and Dragonite, the 2 main physical sweepers that are both weak to rock. Actually, these are pretty good physical sweepers. Ferrothorn is the Ferrothorn of walls. It is the gold standard of making you want to quit the game. Dragonite's pretty good. It's in the middle speed tier, so how are we going to make it fast? I'm not sure. But I guess you can Choice Scarf it. You can certainly Choice Scarf Entei, a really excellent Pokemon in the format. It's got Inner Focus, so we would beat Lemuro's team pretty easy. And maybe with the Choice Scarf, Entei can just like erupt and blow everything away. And that's pretty compelling to me. I really like Clawitzer. I gave Cheesy this idea and he's run with it. With Mega Launcher and Terrain Pulse with Indeedee, and Clawitzer becomes insanely strong. And with the redirection provided by Indeedee, Clawitzer can just go to town. Really good special win con there, and it doesn't share weaknesses with the Psy Spam core. So that's one of the cooler options. I don't like Hawlucha. But Cheesy did convince me that Boldore is a real Pokemon. It's got pretty legit stats for a low tier, especially with the Eviolite. So we have good offensive options, but we don't have as many offensive options as I think some of the other teams have. And so I really feel like this team is not one of the harder teams to prep for. You get a dark type, you get a physical defender for these guys. You get something that, just get a dark type. Like really, it's not that hard. Not a lot is beating dark types besides Grimmsnarl here. So that's where this team is going to need to play craftily. By the way, Cheesy's team, he decided to hop on another coach's bandwagon and name themselves after the Wailords. I'm not accepting that. You are the New Jersey Jellicents, Cheesy. That is an iconic draft league name. So I'm calling you the New Jersey Jellicents until you make playoffs and keep calling yourself the Wailords. Then you get to be the Wailords. But man, why they're naming themselves after such a bad Pokemon? But this is a team that has lots of versatile options. Boltund is a good support. Grimmsnarl is a fantastic support, and I actually think this is not always an anti-synergy. If you just not bring Indeedee sometimes, then Grimmsnarl gets to be the only prankster in town. The opponent can't bring their priority users because most of the time it's going to be negated by Indeedee. So there's a ton of potential in this team, like for sure. But it's maybe just like some more dimensionality, something that demands its own specific answer. You can maybe round up some of these weaker options. Maybe you don't need both Psy Spammers. You'll have to see as the season progresses. But I'm excited to see how the team goes. Alright, I just did the last 4 teams in one take, one breath, it feels like. But I got some water and I'm ready to do the last 3. Wall-to-wall, dense, analytical content. This is power rankings. This is how I like to do things. Hopefully you get something out of it. Before I move on, Ballhawk made this prep doc, the best game in town when it comes to making prep docs for research, figuring out who learns what. Beautiful, I love the new version. He will get around to watching this, so please put some appreciation for Ballhawk in the comments. Lovely doc, and really helped me do these power rankings. So, in the number 11 spot, we have Rising and the Texas Togedemaru's. Cute logo here. We have these consistent versatile mons. I do, despite some criticism over Galarian Moltres in the new format, I think it's basically a Veltol small version. I think it's Choice Spec Snarls, Fiery Wraths, Air Slash, still can run Nasty Plot. Clefairy is the other of the top 2 redirectors in the whole game, supports its friends like no other, what I used in the SPS previous season. And Rotom Heat is another kind of setup sweeper and generally good support mon. It's got Electroweb for speed control, got Will-O-Wisp and Earwimp Pulse for damage drops. You guys know, because I also used a Rotom form in the SPS last season. So they both get supported by Clefairy. I could see Caparajah dealing some damage with Clefairy's help, Regirock setting up curses with Clefairy, Como setting up iron defenses. There's a lot of ways to set up with Clefairy, but a lot kind of points right at Clefairy. The good news is that nothing else is weak to steel except for Regirock, who you can't always hit with a steel move because it's just going to trigger weakness policy. And then nothing else is weak to poison. So he's got a great support that you need to bring a specific answer if you're going to get to the rest of the team. So that's where the team stops. I mean, there's great type synergy. We definitely should talk about that. No net weaknesses. Very well done. Not just the Clefairy situation, but not a lot of weaknesses to anything, really. I guess Moltres, Trevenant, and what's this guy? This guy's are weak to ice, but like not the end of the world. You're going to be bringing a lot of Rotom, Heat, and Blastoise, and they can protect you. So really good balance here. So I said consistent, versatile mons. That's what I think is the highlight of this team, and why it's got, good, like Leechu's team. It's got good defense and type synergy. It has more offense than them, particularly with setup, but immediate offensive pressure. Moltres Galar is not taking KOs on turn 1. What's its attack stat? 100? Nah. 105. This is the highest. Oh, I guess Azelf. Azelf's kind of like a suicide lead, like a glass cannon. Not a lot of big numbers right off the gate. Caparajah's, though, being a slow mon, usually needs setup in the form of Trick Room, or it's going to need to live a couple of things if it wants the privilege of getting to move. This team is well equipped to fight in Trick Room. It's got Clefairy, it's got setters in Trevenant. Any others? I think Azelf has it. Yeah. And so you can set up Trick Room and you can win that way. He can use Rotom Electrowebs and win that way, but they take time. They don't happen on turn 1. And so what if the opponent is just bringing setup moves of their own? What if they're bringing better setup moves? What if they're flinching you with Rock Slides? Both of these guys are weak to. What if they're hazing? Haze removes all the stat changes on the field. And so if you've spent your time getting strong, he can negate everything you've done with the same move here. We do have endgame win cons with Trevenant. I saw in the VBLS, Steve, shoutouts to Steve, used Trevenant over and over and kept winning with Leech Seed and Will-O-Wisp and leftovers. So you can play defensively here. Regirock, of course, is a great wall, and he can play versatile, but he can't play fast. And do you always need to play fast? No, but I would like that option. What I found in my VBLS league, which was the last league I made videos for, is that I had all these options, but I kept getting outsped and I kept getting taken advantage of because my mons were getting KO'd before they could move. And so it does affect how the opponent builds. If you don't have that scary mon right up front, the Dracovish, then they don't have to protect turn 1. They don't have to switch out. They don't have to fear anything in particular. They can do whatever game plan they came with. And so with that, and without a lot of there's no tailwind here, there is 2 -1, Electroweb and Icy Wind speed options. And there's enough defense that you can kind of make speed irrelevant sometimes, with a Como body press, iron defense setup. And then we've got good utility, 2 fake outs here. We got everything you need. What I would like is 1 glass cannon. We'll see if Azelf fills that role. If he does, then this team is even better than I'm saying here. But I think this is a pretty good team. I think this is a very good team. Well done, Rising. Let's look at number 10. The Lake City Linoons, coached by Phantom Strife. This is a really well thought out, creative team. The other teams are too, but I'm going to put some special emphasis on this because we have 2 ground immunities, 2 grassy terrain, which protects you from ground to some extent, and then you have a couple of heavy ground weaknesses. that's good. Look at this: 4 ground immunities and 4 ground weaknesses. Sometimes you're going to be stuck because they know that like nothing resists the ground move in this situation, but that is good. That is team synergy there. You have these guys up here are weak to ice, but you have plenty of ways to beat ice, from Magmortar to Skarmory to the other guys. And so we have generally good type synergy on this team. Very good, I'd even say. Rotom Wash, the GOAT, the best. Landorus, really good in this format. And a lot of kind of like balance throughout the speed range is good. There's a lack of a Trick Room mode here, but I'm going to guess that they have some ways to deal with it. I'm going to say a lot of Taunt. Where's Taunt? Yeah, a ton of Taunt. Yeah, that was actually one thing I noticed that was what I didn't get to about Mixed Team, is that I'm searching his name. Taunt. He's got Taunt, but like just like one screen setter that has both, like not a lot of like ally switch or like helping hand. And these are like support options that you forget they're there. You just kind of assume that you have options, but if you don't look at it, sometimes you might just not end up with any options. And so this team, I guess it doesn't have ally switch. So point somewhat negated, but he's got one mon that actually does like to run helping hand, which is Rotom Wash. But the other things that I think are like good, like you might forget to have it, type stuff, are all these spread moves. A ton of Snarl. Rock Slide is good for the hacks. But we get to kind of where I think the team's limited, which is all the special attackers. Mainly special attacker, special attacker, special attacker, special attacker, special attacker, special attacker. How do you just not lose to Snarl? Now, you do have Bisharp, so a Snarl will give it double attack. It's defiant. But besides that, Bisharp's not that good. Like, it's like a mid-tier. How do you deal with a special wall, like a Regice that I talked about earlier? Do you have fake tiers? I don't know if we have fake tiers on the dock. Ballhawk, I hope you're listening. Put fake tiers on the dock. But that's a good way of like cutting down special defenses, so you can rip through them, even if they cut down your offense. That'd be good. The last thing I'll say that makes me nervous, but definitely is work-aroundable, is the lack of coverage. Landorus just like runs like weird moves, like Sludge Bomb and Grass Knot. Spectrier mostly just has ghost moves. Rotom Wash is really just electric and water moves. I don't know some of these others, but hopefully they can, like, I imagine like a Magmortar is kind of be like a more of a well-rounded mon. It's going to have a lot of different coverage, but I feel like I'm going to be able to find the answer to this team when I get to play it this year. I'm going to find like, oh, he just can't hit me very hard, so I just win with X Pokemon. We shall see, though. This is a team with all the things I would normally want, except for a Trick Room answer. A Trick Room defense. But there is Tailwind, there is Speed Control, this deserves a higher Speed Control. Not sure if I got to edit it. Let's say 3.5. Yeah, with Rotom, with Noivern, do on-the-spot rating. How else does he do it? Is he like a trick? Prankster? No. Okay, so we'll put it at 3. Good team. Let's see how it develops. I think some of the Spectrier was thrown on at the last minute during the grace period. I think there's still more transactions to go with this team, but it is already very good. Last team of the pack. Leading the pack with an interesting team, not better than the teams before it in all ways, that's for sure, but better in that I really see where this team's going and how it's going to win. This is Braff and the Libertyville Luxrays, a coach from the VBLS who came over, and I'm excited to fight him in both my leagues. Urshifu. Urshifu is known as one of the best Pokemon in this format because it is stupid, because it ignores Protect. And with Speed Control, not a lot of things can handle an Urshifu close combat or surging strikes. It's immune to Reflect. It's immune to Intimidate. It just hits you really hard. You better be able to deal with it. Gengar is also a good, strong attacker. I've gained a lot more respect from it since the last time I did power rankings. Regidrago does dragon moves. That's all it does, but does extremely strong dragon moves. So if you don't have a steel and fairy type, then you might lose to it. And I guess the last offensive piece, sometimes Tornadus does offense, but mainly it is just a very good support Pokemon, is Diggersby. Diggersby has double power with huge power, becomes very, very strong with these 2 ground immunities here. Then you can just fire off Earthquakes, Tailwind Earthquakes. That's probably going to win him 1 week just by itself. But this team is defined by its hyper offensive options. Might even be able to give it like a 4.5 in offense. Though what limited it a little bit is like the offense is coming from here, 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 and occasionally from Diggersby and Tornadus. But it's not coming from anywhere else. Like you're not gonna sweep me with a Raichu, and you're not gonna sweep me with a Gothorita or a Slowpoke. Umbreon is the main defensive win con. It's incredible, but it's not. You don't win with defense, that often. Once or twice they just can't beat Umbreon, and you beat him that way. But Corviknight also reduces stat drops, and so it's another kind of like end game win con on the defensive side. But there's fewer options to win, despite the options being very good. So it's like just a little bit too many supports, I guess, is a roundabout way of what I'm saying. So like just all of these guys are support oriented, and maybe you just make your own offense with like an Umbreon Fake Tears into Gengar. I don't know how you would do that because their speed is so different, but you get the idea. You can make your own offense some of the time, but this team is pretty volatile. If it doesn't get the damage it wants to get quickly, if the team can manage to tank the Urshifu Surging Strikes, Urshifu probably going down with 2 hits. Gengar is usually going down with 2 hits. Regidrago might just get OHKO'd immediately by a fairy move. And if you can remove the Raichu, this is like a really wonderful synergy here. Is 3 electric weaknesses all covered by Raichu, but once Raichu's gone, like Raichu's not going to be here forever. Even Slowpoke is weak to electric, but protected by Raichu. Then the electric moves happen. I guess Diggersby, another immunity. So I'd say the type synergy is pretty good here. I'd say including Raichu, then I think we can give this a 3.5. Let's look at it. It's Ice. Ice is the main thing, which Urshifu is not a resist. It is not. It is an offense mon, not a defense mon. So Ice moves are coming, and they're gonna tank. They're gonna be a problem. But I think the main thing why I think this team is the best of this video is because there are clear ways to win the Rain-esque mode. Urshifu or Tornadus Prankster priority sets up Rain for Urshifu. They both are protected by Raichu. These two form a Perish Trap core, which I hate, but is effective sometimes. To trap them on field and then make it so that they all get KO'd in 3 turns. I can see the team winning with Umbreon once or twice and winning with Corviknight once. But what do you do when something goes wrong? When you lose your Gengar and you didn't expect it? When you lose your Urshifu or Raichu before you expected it? So I think Braff knows this is a volatile team, and that he's going to have to be really creative. Luckily, Braff is a very creative team builder. I'm excited to see what he does to make this team a upper half, playoff making, dominating, impressive, fun team. We're just going to have to look forward to it. That's the video. Those are 8 teams. Those are what I think is good, what I think is bad. Those are how I think the teams mesh together. And just like a lot of draft league thought. It's a really fun activity. It's so nuanced, so many different options, and a lot of these coaches have given themselves a ton of options. Team building is going to be guesswork and stress at times, and you're just like, how do I deal with this? But I'm excited for the league, and I hope you stay tuned for the following the top 8 teams, by my estimation anyway. And I hope you drop a like, I hope you comment, I hope you subscribe. We got a whole season worth of VGC Draft League content coming. Let's go.